In today's tutorial, I will show you how to make this simply adorable baby bee. So there's a few things that you will need to start. You will need a yarn needle, stitch markers, scissors, needle threader, safety eyes, the eye backs, black yarn, yellow yarn, pink yarn, white yarn and a crochet hook. To start our bee, we will create a magic ring.
Place your yarn hook underneath, pull through the back loop, give it a twist. The top stitch, you're going to go under it and pull it through. That knot you can let go. And then you'll have your magic ring. In the magic ring, we want to place 6 stitches, single crochets. So we're going to go into our loop, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through both stitches, and we'll go in again and we'll do that 6 times. So there's 2, go into your loop, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, there's 3, yarn over, draw up a loop, there's 4, 5 and 6. I'm now going to pull our yarn tail nice and tightly to close our ring and go into our very first stitch and create a slip stitch. We're going to put a stitch marker in the top of that stitch. We're now going to go back into that stitch and create a single crochet, and then into the next stitch we're going to put 2 single crochets, then into the next stitch we'll put a single crochet, then into the next stitch we're going to put 2 single crochets, into the next stitch we'll put a single crochet, and then in the final stitch we'll put 2 single crochets. Join with a slip stitch. Once we've done that, we're going to make him slightly bigger. So we're going to put our stitch marker in the top of this stitch. And then in this stitch, we're going to put a single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, followed by a single crochet, followed by 2 single crochets, followed by a single crochet into the next stitch, and 2 single crochets in the next stitch, a single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then we will slip stitch into our very first stitch that we created. Once we've done that, we're then going to put a single crochet in every single stitch. So I'm just going to mark off the first one.
At the end of this row, you will have 12 single crochets. This part of the crochet pattern is forming our bee's head.
And then we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch of the round. And we have started our little bee's face. So at this point, draw up a large loop, and we can now put in our safety eyes. So I'm going to choose very, very small ones. 2 really, really diddy ones here. And I'm going to put them in about there. And then I'm going to use the eye back and fasten him off. I'm going to try and put the eye in the same stitch and try and do him level if I can. One more over, I think. Need to go there. Yeah, that's better. Then, once you've got your safety eyes in place, you can use your crochet hook. Let me just straighten that up a bit. Use your crochet hook to pull through your center so that you can hide it. Don't cut off because we're going to use that in a moment. Then I'm going to use the pink yarn, threading my needle, to create his cheeks. You want to put them just underneath the eye, so I'm just going to go through just one stitch. Like so. Give him little blush cheeks. I'm going to tie a knot in the back. And then I'm going to go under the next eye and put him in another little cheek. So it's just right under the eye there. And get them level. There. There we go. Now we can tie off. I'm going to cut off a bit of the yarn. Don't worry about excessive scrap yarn here, because you'll just use it as part of the stuffing. We can get rid of our pink. Tie off. So yeah, it'll just stuff the bee anyway, so it's fine. So we can just use that just to pad him out a bit rather than cutting off and wasting yarn. We can pop that into his face. If you want to do him a little mouth as well, you can. In fact, shall I do him a little mouth? Yeah, I'll do him a little mouth. Using the same yarn, I'm going to make him some antennae. So I'm just going to pull through the top ends of that yarn, like so. And then I'm just going to snip them off quite short. Like so. So next, we're going to join on our next colour. So I'm going to create a slip stitch. And I'm going to go in on the back of a loop and just join on. Tuck the back of that loop into your bee, and then we're just going to do single crochets in every stitch around the bee. So, and as you shape him, you can just shove any excess yarn inside of his head. Okay. And then continue to single crochet all the way around your bee. In every stitch of the yellow stitch that you did. And we're going to do another round of single crochets, so slip stitch, and then single crochets in every, oops,
every stitch of that round.
Next slip stitch, and now we're going to join our yellow yarn. So draw up a stitch, and we're going to go into the next stitch.
Once we have completed this round, we are then going to slip stitch, join up, and we are going to work our next round of single crochets. So another 12 crochets into the stitches that we've just completed. So you should have 2 rows now of yellow crochet single stitches. Now we are going to join on with our black, and we're going to continue with single crochets all the way round into the top of those 12 stitches. So we'll have 12 single crochets in black, and then after this we will slip stitch and do a further round of black single crochets. So you'll have 2 rows of black single crochets. And then once we get to the end of that row, we can draw up a loop and we can snip off.
Now we're going to make the wings of the bee. So you're going to need your white yarn for this. We're going to create a magic ring, and then we're going to put 4 single crochets into our magic ring. Once we've got our 4 single crochets, we can tighten it up and slip stitch into the first chain of the round. And then we're going to put 2 single crochets into each of the stitches. So 1, 2, I'm going to go in and put 2 more in the next, 1 and 2. So there's 4, 5, 6, and in our last stitch of the round, 7. Ooh, I can't get in. And then join with a slip stitch into the top. There's our first Now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going
Using the chain that we have just created, we are now going to put in 4 single crochets into that stitch.
Slip stitch, turn our work, go back into the stitch and put a single in there, followed by another single, followed by 2 more singles, more, final 2, and then slip stitch into the round, draw up a loop, cut off, now thread our needle, draw your loops through the back 3 loops, like so. And once more. Then I'm going to put a stitch through the top first 2 of the stitch and then go back in for a knot. And that will make his wings stick up. I'm now going to go in through the top where we joined, just in the top here. I'm going to put in one of my loops, and then you can use your crochet hook to pull the next one through, and pull the white yarn through, and then you can tie off inside, so put a nice double knot in there just to make sure he's secure, his wings are secure. And then stuff now I'm going to take some stuffing and I'm going to stuff him.
And so I've stuffed him. I'm just going to neaten him up and just make sure everything's in place and nice and secure.
Now I'm going to finish off my bee. Draw up a loop, chain 1.
We're now going to go round our bee, making a decrease in every second stitch. So join 2 stitches together and put in a single crochet for this row, and then for our final row we're going to do 2 decreases in each stitch that is remaining. Once that's complete, draw up a long tail so that you can sew in your ends after, and you can then finish off. Once you've done that, we're then going to thread our needle with the yarn, and then we're going to sew our ends. Once this is complete, you can then fasten off, and I like to hide my thread inside of my bee, and then you will have your completed bee. Congratulations! And here he is, looking super cute.